My best friend isn't human, but that doesn't matter to me. Her name is She, which I found out recently after taking inspiration from Stranger Things. She doesn't show up in any pictures, so I drew a quick picture of her in Microsoft Paint for those who are wondering what she looks like. I'm not exactly certain when she showed up, as my memory is not all great and I forget a lot of things. All I remember is that one day she wasn't there, and the next day, she was. I told people about her, but everyone believed that she was just an imaginary friend. I stopped talking about her after Mother told me to stop, and that if I kept going, people will start to say I'm crazy and not want to be my friend. Looking back, I don't think she thought I was lying about She, but was genuinely worried about people saying that I'm crazy. I guess that's also why she never brought me to a doctor or anything, as her family has a history of mental illness and being placed in hospitals, and Mother didn't want to lose me. So I guess it was possible she was just a result of some diagnosed illness, but as I grew up, she started to do things that confirmed that she isn't just in my head. Like ghosts in horror movies, she can move things. Although, she can only move small things and knobs, and can open the occasional door. She mostly does the knob thing to turn off the hot ovens that I tend to forget about before my poor chicken nuggets get burned. She tends to pick up things that I drop, like pencils and pens, and will open doors to get things that I forget, such as my medicine. All of this already makes her have a hidden yet high place on my friends list. But a recent event has pushed her straight to number 1. I'm 21 now, so I like to go to parties with my human friends. She tags along and makes sure I don't let my drinks get out of sight. Stories of girls and guys being roofied has made me very scared about it happening to me. During this particular party, I had gone with my good friend Sarah. It was at a fraternity house, which was filled with plenty of drunk people that were most likely not of age, but that isn't my issue. Sarah and I made our way out to the backyard, where everyone was dancing and having a good time. At some point, a guy who seemed to be around our age came up to us with 2 solo cups that were filled with what we thought was plain beer. We accepted them, but before I could put the cup to my lips, she slapped the cup out of my hand, causing the contents to spill over the thrift store dress I was wearing. I shouted, and after Sarah ensured that I was okay, I went to go into the house to find a bathroom. On my way in, I noticed that the guy who had offered us the cups in the first place had a scowl on his face. I thought it was just because it seemed I'd wasted his beer, and ignored it. As soon as I closed the door to the bathroom, she went up to the mirror and began to breathe onto it. That was not something I had ever seen her do before, but I was too frustrated with my ruined dress to care about it.
What the hell was that about?
I whispered, not wanting anyone walking by to hear me and get concerned. That was the last thing I wanted to deal with at the moment. She ignored me and continued to cover the mirror in a fog. I busied myself with trying to wash the stain with water, but I looked up when I felt a tap on my shoulder. She had began to use what could be a finger to draw letters on the mirror. My heart stopped as soon as I saw the words pill and cup appear, and an arrow was drawn from the first word to the second. I quickly realized why she had stopped me from drinking the beer and went to thank her. But then she began to write Sarah over and over on the mirror, and I ran outside once I remembered that Sarah had also gotten the cup from the same guy. I ran past all the partygoers that were inside and out onto the porch and began to look for Sarah, but I couldn't find her. I asked around and people said that she had started to get sick and was brought upstairs by the guy who gave us the drinks, whose name I learned was Mike, and one of his friends to the rest. When seeing the fright on my face, A couple people followed me as I booked it to the upstairs bedroom. Coming from behind the door was yelling, until a thud came and silenced the screams. I ran up to the door and began to yell and bang when I found out that it was locked. One of the guys who had came with me ready to slam into the door before it seemed to open on its own. It seems like it, but I know it was one of the things she could do. Inside the room was chaos. The guy had went up with them was on the ground with a wound dripping blood from his head. On the bed was Sarah with her head rolled to the side and her mouth hanging open, and Mike, who was on top of my friend and had begun to take off his pants. He didn't get far, as the guy who was going to slam open the door tackled him off the bed and to the ground. I ran over to my friend while the others began to check on the guy on the floor. Thank God, and Sarah was breathing and her clothes had not been touched, so Mike didn't get too far with her before we got there. The police came almost as soon as they were called, and they placed Mike in the handcuffs instead of the rope we were using to restrain him. He was yelling that everything was a misunderstanding, but the guy bleeding from his head and my friend were enough to disprove his story. Both of them were brought to the hospital, where a roofie was found in Sarah's blood. More pills were found in Mike's pockets, leading police to conclude that he had plans to ruin more than me and Sarah. My cup was found on the ground outside, and it had a very small trace of the roofie left in it. Mike is going to be heavily charged, according to an officer who took my statement. I didn't tell him about she, of course, and I don't think it would have made much of a difference anyhow. The same cop drove me home as Sarah and I had taken her car. Mother was awake and hugged me while crying and saying that I'm not allowed to drink at parties anymore, and I'm okay with that. I went upstairs and changed into a pair of PJs and threw away the dress I was wearing. I didn't care that it was ruined anymore. I'll just get a new one. I crawled underneath my bed and she sat in a chair near my bed and closed her eyes. I think she can sleep to regain energy like me, and she must have used a lot of her energy during the party. Thank you, I said before turning off the lights. The lights we used to communicate lit up and I snickered. S-L-E-E-P. And I did. I guess the purpose of me writing this up and posting it here is to let everyone know that not everyone's creature/spirit is a scary one, and that some of them can be a person's best friend. Good night, everyone, and keep an eye on those drinks.